Now, why would they need those gas masks? Well, I figure we find out later in the episode that they are. The reason they're there is for Ben. They're looking for Ben. And I think they know that how Ben killed the Dharma Initiative. He killed his own dad with gas. So they figured they'd go prepared. That's probably the main reason why. Or maybe they're wanting to do something with gas and kill some other people. So um, back to Locke's group. He's walking through the jungle, and Sawyer, I forgot what he did. He's causing some trouble as usual. And anyway, Locke shows him that he got shot by Ben through the stomach and went out the other side. And says that if he had a kidney, he probably would have died. And I found it pretty interesting that the man, his dad, who tried to kill him, actually, and made his life a nightmare, and tried to kill him by going through the window, actually, is also the man that saved his life, too, by actually removing his kidney. Felt that it's like the island was preparing him to come there. So back to Jack, Kate, and Dan. They go to the place where Miles, the new character, he face plants into the rock and he looks dead. And they go up to him and he gets up, points the gun at Jack, and he goes to his flashback. His name is Miles Strom. He goes to Inglewood, California, and goes up to a door, and a black lady opens it up and lets him inside. And then right after that, it pans to a picture, and a lot of people think it's Echo. I actually think that too. It's a little bit bigger than Yemi, his brother. It could be someone totally different too. I don't know yet, but to me it looked like Echo, and I'll tell you why in a little bit why I think it's him too. Now the guy in the photo is the lady's grandson, and Miles has some weird vacuum-like device with him. He goes upstairs and puts it down and turns it on, and I think it's just a sound device to make it so the grandma can't hear, because later when he's in the island, when he's by Naomi's body communicating with her spirit, he doesn't have that. So I think it was just there to distract maybe the lady so she can't hear. Miles gets all jittery and glitchy, and it looks like he's waving a fly away or something. And anyway, he says, "Where is it?" And he hears a noise by by the dresser. He goes over to it, pushes it to the side. There's a hole in the back, and he pulls out a brown bag. There's a bunch of hundreds, a bunch of cash in there, all rolled up, and he also finds a little packet of drugs, and it looks like to me the exact same drugs that were in the little Virgin Mary statues that were in the plane that Echo's brother was flying across, and the ones that Charlie was using. So I think that's the reason why I think it is Echo. And obviously the person who it is has some significance. Back to the present, Miles is still holding the gun to Jack, and Dan comes over and says, "No, they're nice people." And Miles says, "No, don't you remember they killed Naomi? She gave the code, tell my sister I love her," which, if you watched my last video, completely throws that idea that it's Walt's mom's out of the water. So they're walking through the jungle, and Dan makes a comment that the light doesn't scatter right. And I thought that was a pretty important comment. It shows that the island is different somehow, obviously, that we know. And something with lights and electromagnetics is making it... Maybe what is happening is that light is bending around the island, making it invisible. That could be one theory of how no one can find it. My favorite scene of this whole episode was the one right after the light scattered statement. And Jack winks at Kate and says to Miles, "Put the guns down." And Miles looks at him and kind of laughs, says, "Now why would I do that?" And Jack says, "Because my people are holding guns to your head right now and his head right now," pointing to Dan. And Miles says, "How stupid do you think I am?" And right at that point, Juliet and Saeed shoot out of the trees. Just thank God it wasn't Jin, or else they'd probably all be dead, judging by his aim. Jack says right after that, "I don't know, how stupid are you?" And that is, if you remember in season 2, that's the exact same conversation that Jack and Tom, when he had the beard, were in. Except Tom says, instead of them shooting out of the trees, Tom says, "Light them up." So I thought that was really good writing, how it kind of circled around to where Jack was now the one in Tom's shoes. And on a side note, has anyone seen Jin or Sun or even Desmond in the past couple of episodes? Because I know I sure haven't. The next character they introduce us to is a girl named Charlotte, and her full name is Charlotte Staples Lewis. And if you that name kind of sounds familiar, it might be because of a guy named Clive Staples Lewis, aka C.S. Lewis. And in this flashback, Charlotte goes to Medellin, Tunisia, and she's an anthropologist, and she goes to this one digging site. And right before she gets there, she reads a newspaper, and it's the Tunisian newspaper, and it says 815 retrove, which I take means retrieved or found. And if you look at the top right, it's kind of hard to read, but you can make it out. It says Le lavage des cerveaux and liberi, which means something about brainwashing, which I thought was pretty cool. So she's digging, and there's a skeleton on the ground, and she says it's a polar bear, and she digs a little bit more, and there's a collar with the Hydra Dharma symbol on it. Now, honestly, the thing about the polar bear, this one I'm having trouble figuring out. Some people think that it's the actual polar bear that's Sawyer shot. Somehow it was transferred over there. Some people think that the actual polar bear was transported to the islands from there. I don't know why it'd be in that country, but that could be an idea. My first reaction when I first saw it is that place was in the actual island. That millions and millions of years have passed, and that island has gone to that one spot, and that the island that the losses are on now is just way back in time. If you remember back when Ben is talking about the magic box that Sawyer's dad is in, that could be an idea. Maybe the with time travel or something. And also, it could be staged. It could be Abaddon placing it there, wanting her to go, and convincing her. And she obviously was happy to find it and knew what she was looking for. So yeah, back to Charlotte in the present. She somehow manages to land on the only tree sticking out, jutting out in the area, and eventually gets untangled and starts falling to the water. And I was actually hoping she'd belly flop, but too bad she didn't. And Charlotte seems to actually be pretty happy on the island. Like, she's looking for it, and she can't believe she's actually there, that she's been looking for a while. But then the good times don't last, as she sees Locke and his band of merry men coming towards her and staring at her. So Locke's group is supposedly running away from these group that he thinks are trying to kill him. And you'd think that when he sees one floating, bobbing around in the water, he'd kill her, right? Well, nope. When he didn't have any trouble knifing Naomi in the back, but when he sees Charlotte, he wants to sit down and have a nice little chat with her and get to know her. And Charlotte doesn't actually. She seems surprised that they're there. I know Miles. He doesn't seem surprised at all. He was expecting it. He kind of makes fun of Saeed and being sarcastic about it. That he knows that they were actually alive. So yeah, we find out from good old Ben later that Charlotte actually went to Oxford. And I could have sworn, but if you remember the Asian guy in the orientation films, his name is Marvin Candle. He also goes by a couple other names, but it's the same guy. And I could have sworn he was an Oxford teacher. I thought I heard that somewhere. But anyway, maybe Charlotte was a student of his and found out about a Dharma initiative that way and heard tales about the island and wanted to see it firsthand. Maybe that's why she was excited to see the Dharma symbol on the polar bear. And then the next scene is of Jack and his group, and they get a little beeper on the GPS that shows a thing coming at them pretty fast, and they say it's Charlotte, and Jack says she's running away from something. And I found this on the board. It's pretty funny. If you remember in an earlier episode, it was known that the GPS covers 3 kilometers. And the thing coming at them turns out to be Vincent, and it covers about a third of the screen in like 10 seconds, 5 seconds. Someone figured that out. It'd be like 225 miles per hour or something. So, is it Vincent? Is it, I don't know, maybe black smoke? Is it just something that was not seen by the editors of the show? Who knows? Then we get to good old Frank's flashback, Frank Lapidus, and the first scene is of an aquarium, and it shows a little toy plane hitting the ground. And to me, it seemed like a clue of something like a a staging. That's what it seemed like to me. We find out that he was watching the news of supposedly showing the pilot. He calls in and says that he was supposed to be the one that was flying that plane that day. I guess he got his shift covered or something. That the guy flying the plane always wore his wedding ring, yet in that photo he wasn't wearing his ring. And so he knew that the whole thing was staged.